dating has to be the most selfish thing you ever do.
How long does it take to fall in love?
Okay. Existing in this world is frustrating, embarrassing, and maybe even depressing. If you think marriage is going to make you into a mensch, if you think marriage is going to make you happy, it's a disaster. If you think marriage is going to help you achieve your goals, don't use marriage for your benefit. I love everything about my wife. I said, that's very interesting because your wife wants a divorce.
Now, after a cheating situation, is there place for forgiveness? Okay, we have here a special guest who needs no introduction. This is Rabbi Mains Friedman.
Yes.
He's a famous mashpia. He is a shliach and a world influencer. Of course, what we want to do is we want to discuss life. We want to discuss relationships, marriage. But what I want to do before I even start is I want to go to the foundation. To the bottom of the bottom, before we get into this whole conversation. I have a ton of questions. You wrote a book once. It's called I Didn't Ask to Come to This World. Right? I didn't ask to come to this world. My question to you is, a person is born into this world, finally came into this world. What is his purpose? How should a person look at the world as soon as he comes into the world? In one word.
His first reaction is, what a mess. Well, first of all, if we're looking for a purpose, it means something is wrong. Why do you need a purpose? Was gefällt dir nicht? What, it's not good enough?
Right.
Obviously, it's not good enough.
Right.
Existing in this world is frustrating, embarrassing, and maybe even depressing. There's something about the human being. If I don't have a purpose, not only am I bored, I can't stand it. To exist without a purpose is intolerable. It drives people to suicide. Why? So when you ask, what is the purpose of life? You're already assuming that there is a creator who knows what he's doing. Because what purpose do you mean? Why do you think there's a purpose? And if there is a purpose, where is it coming from? I can't make up a purpose. I can't build a car and then think, what is its purpose?
Right.
The purpose comes before, right?
The purpose comes from the creator.
Before the creation.
Right.
So either there is a creator and he has a purpose, or there is no purpose. You can't just decide one day, my purpose is to be a doctor.
So what you're saying is when a person is born into this world and he starts to have a little bit das and a little bit cycle, he starts to look around and he starts to see what this world is all about. He can't just exist. There is a purpose and there is a reason. You came down to the Rebbeinu Shalom, decided that I'm going to take a chaylik alekayim mal, I'm going to take a piece of myself and I'm going to send down this neshama, this gift to the world, to a set of parents, and now the job begins.
Right.
I have a job.
So instinctively, we feel that there's a purpose, but we don't know what it is.
And we are searching for it.
Yeah.
So where does one start?
Oh, it started at Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram Avinu, Adam. How far back you want to go?
Right. So the purpose is the Svurim right Eladovka boy. That's the whole purpose of the creation and of being here, to connect and to understand that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants a human being to fight his own desires and be cling to Hashem. Is that the word?
Yes, it's correct. The purpose, it can be very confusing. What is my purpose in life? My purpose? I don't have a purpose.
The human itself doesn't have a
No.
purpose.
What is the purpose for which I was created? Not
Correct.
my purpose.
Correct. So the question is,
What is
the purpose? What is the purpose? That is the question.
And that's a big point. It's an important.
It's very important because this is the foundation. Before we even start talking about growing up, before we start about dating, if marriage, all the conversation that is happening about marriage is already in the middle.
Yeah.
The first you have to know before you start having relationships with other people, you have to understand, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What is your job?
Before you make other people miserable,
Yeah, you have to first
get over
understand
your own misery.
you understand what are you doing over here.
Yeah.
So that idea, that clarity of understanding that the Ribono Shel Olam wants something from you, and if you understand it, if you search for it, and if you understand it, you will live in Gan Eden. Is that what it is? In this world.
More than Gan Eden.
What is
In
Gan
Gan
Eden?
Eden, you can't fulfill the purpose.
It's a different level.
It's the schar.
Right. It's already
You're retired. So that's why we are shutfim with HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'maaseh bereishis. How are we shutfim? How are we partners with God in creation? Well, because He has a purpose, and the only way that purpose can be fulfilled is if we
through us.
do what we. And that's why Ivdu es Hashem means do something for Him.
Right.
I ask all the big Talmidei Chachamim, how are you Eved es Hashem if all you're doing is making your life better?
Right. You're busy focusing on yourself.
You want to become a Muslim, you want to become perfect.
Even learning and even doing mitzvahs. And
Yes.
if you're doing it for yourself,
Yeah.
then you're missing the whole purpose.
How is that? How is it Ivdu es Hashem?
It's amazing stuff. Now,
So one koilel man was arguing with me. He says, it can't be that the Eibishter is missing something. He needs something from me. That can't be. If he needs something from me, I'm not going to serve him.
what?
I said, but if he doesn't need, then you can't serve him.
What kind of relationship is that?
If he doesn't need anything, what are you going to do for him?
Right.
So either way, you're
Now, this person came down to this world, and this person gets a grip of what is going on. And he tries, he works hard. He's a bucher, he's a bar mitzvah, or a girl who's bas mitzvah, and she's going and learning about Torah and mitzvahs. And she comes to a certain age, and they start talking about shidduch, ready for dating, 18 years old, 19 years old. Start talking about this subject. You are a very big proponent of it has to go through a shadchan. Why is that?
the shadchan is such a brilliant idea. It's so humane. Because without it, dating can be so cruel and so damaging.
Like a shadchan is a friend also. It could be a mutual friend. Anybody who would bring in, who would introduce you to the other person versus finding somebody on the internet or hanging out.
But besides introducing, the shadchan runs interference, keeps them safe from each other
Correct.
until they get married.
The communication is better if there's a third
Absolutely.
party, is what you're saying. So it's a
Absolutely.
practical thing, is
Absolutely.
what you're saying. That's why
They're
shadchan.
very considerate.
Right.
For example, you meet a few times and you decide, not for me. How do you tell her?
Correct. I mean, some people have their way with words and some people are stuck.
It can kill you with words.
Right.
So if you're going to say no, because you're not going to say it over the phone,
Right.
you're going to get together again. You're going to say, it's been nice knowing you, but no.
Yeah.
She's a little shocked because she thought it was going pretty good.
Of course.
She's going to ask you why. And you're going to tell her why, and she will be traumatized for the rest of her life.
Yeah, because that person didn't want
Whatever you're going to say,
whatever you're going to say, you can't win.
is going to be horrible.
Right.
With a shadchan, you don't communicate with each other about the future. You don't exchange phone numbers. You don't develop a relationship because you're total strangers.
Right.
If you're planning to go out a second time, you call the shadchan and say that the meeting went nicely. I want to meet again. The shadchan calls the other party. You also want to meet again, then you get together. If you don't want to, you say to the shadchan, I'm not interested. The shadchan calls up and says he's not in. And she'll say, why? The shadchan will say, how am I supposed to know?
So what you're saying is just watching on the other person's feelings.
Yes.
Or it's also, it's more comfortable. It's more of a smooth way of how to get into this.
Yeah.
Now, as far
I've
as...
heard from men, more than women. I don't know why. They hesitate starting the whole process. They don't want to meet anybody. They don't want to go out on any dates because they're going to have to say no. And
it's going to be uncomfortable.
They're too delicate. They're too sensitive to say no to somebody. So they say yes.
Right.
When they mean no.
Oh.
Now they've gone out 7 times and she thinks they're already married. And then he has to say no.
Yeah.
She said, like, what? Also, at what point do you propose?
Right.
The man has to say,
he wants to move forward.
Let's get married.
Yeah.
He says, let's get married. And she says, what? Are you kidding? That's so devastating.
Right.
That should not happen.
So if you have a shadchan, you communicate this with the shadchan.
You don't propose until the shadchan says
you can do it.
The answer will be yes.
Right. Now, as far as dating goes, we know, everyone knows this, and in a way it's a good thing because everyone is on the best behavior while they date. Now, there is a positive to it because you see that person knows how to behave. That's number one. Second of all is that that person who is on their best behavior is not telling the truth. And they're both, who are they bluffing? That's the question. If you're not open and honest, but automatically you're on your best behavior. But if you're not open and honest, it could be a case of, you're getting engaged with Ruchel and you're coming home with Laya. So how does a person deal with that part that...
or you look like a sheep and you're really a wolf.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your advice in dating? How open should a person be? Spill the beans completely, be themselves, or be nice because everyone told them, you got to be nice. You're meeting a new person. And
we're just saying how important a shadchan is.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, not everything a shadchan says is Torah Mesinai.
Right.
There's some things that they recommend and they advise people, and this is not good. I mean, they want to see you get married.
Right.
So
they have a job.
They have an agenda.
Yeah.
Dating has to be the most selfish thing you ever do.
It's a time to be selfish now.
Absolutely.
Because it's your time, it's yours.
Why are you meeting? To make sure that you're interested, that you're attracted. So what are you playing games? You're meeting a total stranger.
Correct.
Why is it important to you to make a good impression?
Some people, okay, again, if the answer is self-esteem, it's self-esteem, but some people feel that they want to get engaged. They're afraid that everybody's turning them down. They want to make a good impression. It's like a job interview.
Oh, they're getting a little desperate.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's not good. So that's what I'm saying. So step number one is first to know who you are.
Know that you're meeting a total stranger and the chances of marrying him or her are very slim. So dress up, put on a lot of makeup, put on a lot of jewelry, put on a lot of... What are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to trick her into marrying you? You're asking for trouble. Of course, you have to go like a mensch.
Yeah.
But
There's a balance.
Yeah, don't overdo it. You're meeting a stranger. You're going to take a look. Yeah, nicht. It has to be like window shopping.
Genuine, though.
But neutral. I'm not going to impress you. But you impress me.
Right.
So that I know I want to marry you. So you have to be completely selfish. That's the whole purpose. Once you get engaged, then you got to switch to selfless.
That's a whole different...
But people are so much nicer when they're dating than after they're married.
Correct. So that's... Yeah. And this is and everybody thinks that way. I have to make a good impression and I want to get this, this is wrong. People have it absolutely the opposite, the way it's supposed to be. Now...
So you have Shatchanim who say, next day, try to be a little more funny. Try to be a little more
talkative
light.
Or something.
You're too heavy. You're too... Try to be a little more serious. Who are you tricking here? Who are you?
Right. And it's unbelievable, this thing. It says, Lo tov le'udam lias levado. Now, I want to understand what that means. Even, this is for singles, and also for even people who have second marriages on a person would say, listen, I had a very hard time, a very bad relationship in the past, and I finally got out of it. Or this single person who's living according to him, a pretty decent life. Nobody's bothering me. I'm financially okay. Explain why lo tov le'udam lias levado.
It's a very good question because the Torah says lo tov, and yet what do you hear from people all the time?
It's a mess.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just leave me alone. I'll be happy.
Correct.
So what's the story? It's good to be alone, not good to be alone.
Correct.
What's good about being alone?
It's like someone who would have everything in the world on an island, money, cars, houses, and there's nobody there.
And independence, which is very, very good.
Yeah, but there's nothing there.
But Gutzkeit, there's no good. It's a perfect existence, but it's not a life.
When you say Gutzkeit is giving.
Yeah.
Because if
if there's only you, being good to yourself is nicht kein mitzvah.
It's not a big thing.
Despite popular opinion that you have to love yourself and validate yourself. And it's a churb.
It's a churb.
Why? It's narcissism.
Yeah.
And now we're wondering, where's all this narcissism coming
from? Correct.
Why, you keep telling people, love yourself, put yourself first, take care of yourself. It's not even natural.
Right.
Naturally, we thrive on others.
On giving, clearly. Now, what is the reason when it comes to dating? And this is everybody, young, old. Why do they want similar to them? Which means, if I like business, I would like a business person, a partner who is a business person. If I like whatever you like, you want to see in your partner. Is something wrong with that? Because you were saying that if you're looking for a clone of yourself, the dynamic, the giving, and we'll talk about it in a minute with Mashpia Makabel, but the nature of us as human beings, we are looking for people, what we like, similar to us. And why is that bad?
It's only bad if you're marrying those things that you like about the person.
Correct. So what you're saying is something very important. It is okay to want something similar like you. You may have wants and needs and look for in a mate, but don't marry the physical things. You may be a partner with that person, but understand there is something more than that, which is a relationship, giving, taking. That's what you're saying?
I mean, officially, the Gemara says, why do you have to meet before you get married? Because when you do meet and you don't like what she looks like, you won't be Mekayim the Avas Yisrael.
Right.
It's an amazing statement.
Right. Because you have to, the Torah tells you to love the person.
So-
But
so
loving physically, what does the Torah mean by
what does it
loving?
mean? You're not going to love the person because you don't like the looks.
That's clearly in the Torah.
Yeah. So the purpose of dating is make sure that there aren't things which are not important that are going to prevent you from connecting to the
that
person who is important. So what do you have to have in the Soyin? Find somebody with whom you can connect one-on-one, ponim el ponim, because all the around, the details don't disturb you. They don't prevent you from connecting. But if you're marrying those things, then it's not even really a marriage.
Right.
It's a roommate.
You're going towards the things, and if that thing's disappeared, then the thing is out of the window.
And if they don't disappear, you stay married to those things.
Right.
And the person you're married to feels alone in the world because no one is really connected to him or her.
Just to the things.
And then it's levad again. You haven't achieved the purpose of marriage that you should never feel that you're alone.
So what should a person look for? So let's say if a person likes art or a person likes certain things, what should he look for in the person, and what does he have to know in his background?
That question you cannot ask when you're going out on a date.
Mm-hmm.
What you should look for, that you have to learn when you're 12.
Mm-hmm. How's that?
You're going to get married at 15, Lamashal.
Right. Right.
In other words, that's what you grow up with. You develop your values and your. But once you're dating, you're pretty much this is you.
Right.
And don't try to make believe. So if any silly little thing bothers you about the other person, don't marry him.
Clear cut.
It's petty, it's silly. So you're petty and you're silly. Now what are you going to do?
Right. Well, we tell ourselves all the time, they'll grow it out. I'll deal with it.
It's very dangerous. I was talking to a guy. He says, I met this woman, and it's the best of the best, but I don't know, there's something that's keeping me from. I said, before you became frum, did you prefer blondes or dark brunette? He said, what's the difference? I said, I'm just curious. He said, forget what, whatever, dark.
Yeah.
I said, is she dark or blonde? She's blonde. I said, that's why you don't want to marry her. He says, that's Yetzer Hara.
But that's you.
I said, so you're going to marry her without your Yetzer Hara? You're going to leave your Yetzer Hara in your mother's basement?
Right. Right. So what you're saying is be true to yourself.
You already have your values. What you should have. Okay, so blame the yeshiva that they didn't give you good values.
Yeah.
But now, marry who you are, the way you are, for the person that you're meeting, and no spin, no make believe, no fantasies.
Yeah. You're very famous for saying if you marry for love, you're not ready to be married.
Yeah.
So explain it for the people who are dating. That don't marry for the love, but marry for what?
Can you imagine, particularly in the frum community, a man and a woman meet 4 or 5 times, and the guy says, she's good, she's nice, I like her, but I don't feel like I love her.
Right.
What in the world would you love her for? Where would love come from? You met 5 times.
They may call love looks. They may call love that this is going to be the image that I'm going to walk down the street. They love themselves, basically, is what I'm describing, right? I don't love her. I don't love the way I'm going to look when I'm going to walk down the street with her. They call this love.
Why are you expecting love from 5 meetings? Okay, so we'll meet 10 times. And for that, you love her? Where does love even come from? It doesn't make sense.
What you're saying is
Hollywood.
love comes, it's Hollywood movies.
Mamish and Gansen.
What you're saying is love comes a year later, 6 months later.
If you live together, you marry each other, you
have children together, you now have in common something, you have something to love.
Otherwise, what are you loving? A fantasy.
So what's the expectation of love? How long does it take to fall in love?
Okay, so what's the definition of love? Not only for marriage, Bechlal.
Bechlal, what is the definition of love?
So the average child in America is trained and taught to say, I love my mommy, I love Mickey Mouse. I don't know the more modern Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And I love ice cream. What does love mean? It means nothing. The word has lost all its meaning. By the way,
kids...
I love mommy, ice cream, and Mickey Mouse, but not necessarily in that order.
Right. But let me ask you something. When you say you love in the same category, mommy, ice cream, and Mickey Mouse, ice cream, we know that the person loves themselves. They don't love the ice cream. They love themselves. But by mommy, is a child would love their mommy because the mommy serves the kid like ice cream. They feel safe next to the mom, but they didn't comprehend real love yet, correct? That's what you're saying.
The mommy gives them the ice cream.
Right. So that's love. But it's not. But what is real love?
No, you don't love ice cream.
You love yourself.
You enjoy ice cream.
Okay.
So ice cream can be very pleasurable. That's not love. It's not love. It's a complete...
the word does not, it doesn't come together even.
So what is love?
Correct.
Love means a desire for more closeness.
Who's benefiting from this love?
You are.
Desire of more closeness.
You are.
The person itself. Yeah. Both people are. Let's say if two people love each other, they're both benefiting from it.
So love is essentially selfish. I can love you and you might not even know it.
Correct.
So what are you getting from it? Nothing. It's what I love. It's what I'm feeling. It's what I'm experiencing.
So the way I understand it, what you're saying is when a person is married for 28 years, the word love doesn't even come in there. Because that's not the purpose of the whole marriage. If there is love, if there is love, great. But really, a person to say, I live with this person for 28 years and I'm in love, it's not the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is, to become one, to populate the world, all the mitzvahs that a person has to do. But with our feet on the ground.
Yeah. So here's the real catch. The purpose of marriage is to become one. V'hoyu lebosar echad. Does love help you become one, or does love prevent you from becoming one? Love prevents you from becoming one.
It prevents you. How is that?
If I marry someone for their money, that's going to help me become one with them?
Clearly not.
Because I won't get past the money.
Right.
Having your money doesn't get me closer to you.
Correct.
Because I'm quite content with the money without you.
Yeah.
Same thing with love. If I want love and I'm getting love, then I'm home. I don't need any more. I am satisfied with the love, so I don't need to move further beyond the love to you.
Right.
Couple find that they love each other. They get married because they want the love. A week into the marriage, the wife expresses an opinion. The husband is thinking, or maybe even says, wait. I married you for love, not for your opinion. So keep your opinion to yourself and let's just continue
Loving each other.
So, no,
But that's not love. So the Rebbeinu Shalom created love, so we should become one.
the correct description of love is when something or someone is important in your life, you should love.
If that person made such an impact in your life that you cannot hold back and only love, that's the level we need to get.
Pretty much.
If you're married to somebody, you share children with somebody, and you're giving and whatever, you're doing your job right, love is going to just blossom out of it.
You're going to want more.
Right.
That's love. I want more. More closeness, more of you.
Right.
So people want to prove how important love is. They say, look how important love is. The biggest mitzvah in the Torah is v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love is so important. So that you're reading it wrong. It doesn't prove that love is important.
Right.
It proves that Ayid is important.
Right.
And because Ayid is important, you should love. You should get closer to what is important.
Beautiful. Now, let's say this person who was born into this world, became an adult, went on a date, and is finally going on a date, and is finally engaged. Went on a date, like you said, with the right state of mind, and that person is engaged. I know that you're one of your, maybe you're still doing it still. Are you still teaching Chassanim? Like you give Chusin classes and stuff like that? Now, this is a huge topic because I don't know the average person, on what foundations these Chusin lessons are built today, because people are going in with this, what we spoke about before. They go in to serve themselves. They go in for image. They go in because they have like a vision board of how their life is supposed to be, what they saw in the movies or whatever. And they decide that this is what it is, and I'm going to follow this till the end. So the foundation is not where it's supposed to be because, first of all, Yiddishkeit, first of all, where you're standing, what are you doing, where you're going. My question to you is if you can walk us through on a smaller version, the foundation that you give for a chusn that he should know before he goes to his chassan.
Just as you need to be selfish when you're dating, you need to be selfless when you're married. If you think marriage is going to make you into a mensch, it's a disaster. If you think marriage is going to make you happy, it's a disaster. If you think marriage is going to help you achieve your goals, don't use marriage for your benefit.
For your vision, for what you think life is all about. You need a 360-degree turn of understanding what marriage is all about.
Yeah, so people ask, how do I know when I'm ready to get married?
Yeah.
So, the way to know is take a look in the mirror in the morning. You see your face in the mirror and you're fascinated. Don't get married.
You like what you see.
Yeah, don't get married. But if you look in the mirror in the morning and you think, Nachamo, the same face again, okay, now it's time to get married. You're ready for a new face. But if you're still fascinated with yourself, don't inflict that on any innocent
human being.
Undeserving. So if you're a narcissist,
yeah,
keep looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Don't bother anybody.
Right. So what you're saying is that if someone doesn't have the concept that your life is going to change in a way completely, which means you're going to start living with another person, giving to another person, understanding another person, and
And
putting
it's no
yourself to
longer
the
about
side,
you.
it's zero to do about you, that person is not ready to get married.
Yeah.
So this is the foundations, what you're saying to a chusn before he goes to the chippah. So he has to know that this is not a It's not
a self-help project.
It's not a hospital, and it's not a self-help project, and it's not about what your vision is, what your goal is. It's about you building something that you never heard of before. And that is very important.
You can say it in simple language. When you get married, you're starting your life.
Real life.
Your life is much bigger than just you. I mean, life is huge.
Right.
You're going now from being just yourself to having a life. You got to be humbled by that.
Right.
It can't be about you.
Now, where does mashpia and makabel come in? So the Tanya talks about it a lot, because the language on the street you'll hear is 50-50, 100-100. You could say, you take out the garbage, I'll do the dishes. Yesterday, I did it. What did you do today? It's a concept of 50-50. Now, as far as who is the captain of the ship, mashpia, makabel, how do you explain this to a chusn who supposedly is the captain of the ship?
99.9% of all problems in marriage is because the husband is not the mashpia.
They are two makablim? They're both makablim?
Or they're both mashpiyim, and then it's even more violent.
It's even worse.
Yeah. If they're both mashpiyim, there will be constant conflict. If they're both makabel, nothing will ever happen.
Now, what is a healthy mashpia?
A mashpia doesn't hunger. A makabel hungers. Like a student who Poshet needs to know, and there's no one to teach. What's the result?
He's hungry.
You're needy.
Yeah.
But if there is no needy student, you have a teacher running around saying, I need to teach. No. If there's no makabel, there's no mashpia. So being a makabel behind the scenes or under the surface creates the mashpia.
Makes him become a better mashpia.
A mashpia. Otherwise, he's not.
Right.
And the same is true at a Talmud and a Rav.
Right.
A student asks a good question, all of a sudden the teacher can.
Yeah.
If the student is not interested, the teacher can't even think of anything to say.
So what you're saying is that the wife plays a tremendous role in this makabel and mashpia business, because without her being a true makabel, he cannot be a mashpia. Yeah. And for him to be a mashpia, that puts him at a very healthy, fulfilling place.
So it turns out that a mashpia is someone who finds the makabel's need irresistible.
A good mashpia.
Yeah.
And he also, like a Rav, like you said, he's chalishing to give. He has something to give. It's pouring out of his cup to give to the makabel.
But only what is desired or needed
from the makabel.
Yeah. If the mashpia is a big Talmud Chacham and he likes to hear himself talk, it's not a mashpia. The mashpia is motivated by the Talmud's need. So if he sees that he's talking to the Talmud and the Talmud is not interested, not responding, you're not being mashpia.
So most of the time, if someone plays his card right and he is a mashpia, most of the time the wife would be a good makabel. What happens if she's not makabel?
Then there's a crisis in the marriage. Every marriage problem, aside from real serious illness, which is not even a marriage problem,
right.
It's always this mashpia makabel.
Why would a woman not want to be makabel if the husband does it right?
She doesn't know whether he's doing it right. She
Doesn't
lost
feel it?
respect for him.
She doesn't feel it.
If you lose respect, it's finished.
How does a person earn respect?
By having a life worth living. A man proposes to a woman, marry me.
Right.
What is he saying? He's saying, I have a very important, meaningful life to live, but I need someone to do it with. Will you live my life with me?
Will you come with me on this journey?
On this journey. But what if he has no journey and he has no life? He just wants a little company. And he says, marry me. And she says, where are we going? We'll see. There's no respect.
So that's what's missing. That's what's missing in the mashpia, that he did not earn his respect. What if a woman wants to attract her husband?
Attract?
Yeah. She wants to gain his respect. What is she supposed to do?
Well, actually, she needs to respect him more than she needs to be respected. She's not looking for his respect. She's looking to respect him.
That should be her goal.
That's her need.
But it's her need.
Her need is to devote herself to him. But if there's nothing to respect,
so it's a balance. It takes two to dance.
That's exactly what mashpia makabel means.
And that's what oneness means.
Yes.
When you come together as a busar echad, so when you look at a marriage, is there sometimes to say that you blame him or her, or it takes two to tango?
For all practical purposes, it's usually him.
Because we're talking about the captain of the ship. So you would take...
You proposed, and you brought her into your life, and then it didn't work. No, so who's...
Right. So most of the time, you would say that he, the king in the house, has to take responsibility if there is a rift or something's going on.
That's what mashpia means. Mashpia means everything is going to be my responsibility.
That's how everybody takes it. I am fully responsible,
right,
and this thing needs to run a certain way.
Right.
And if it runs efficiently, I'm getting the credit.
So, yeah, right.
And if it's not,
if it doesn't, then it's her fault. But the husband can never say, and yet you hear it all the time, a husband can never say, I do what I'm supposed to do. If something is wrong, it's her problem.
Correct. That means you're missing a huge point.
Her problem is your responsibility. That's a husband.
Wow.
She doesn't know how to... It's your responsibility. Don't walk out of... You step out of the relationship when you say, I did my part.
Right.
Kartik, Gendikt?
Right. What if the woman slacks a little bit here and there? I don't know what it means, slacks, but I mean, I don't know who makes the rules. But what happens if there is, she's not stepping up to the game? Whose responsibility is that?
He
should manage, he should find a way how, not in a controlling way, of course, but a way how to put this back on the tracks. Now, what if a person listens to this and he decides, you know what, I don't think that I'm this great giver, and he wants to become a giver. He wants to start to become a good person. How does someone become a giver all of a sudden?
Well, he is a good person. He's a very good person.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good she can't stand him. Because he's not a mashpia.
Right.
I actually had this couple was sitting there. The wife was saying, since we're married, he hasn't done a single thing. I have to do everything.
Everything.
He does nothing. He looks at me like, I can't believe this. And he says to her, tell me one thing you asked for that I didn't do for you. She says, no, you never do anything. He says, tell me one thing. She just, you never, since we're married. Then she says, you know what? We've been through so much counseling and so much, I can't finish. I've had it. Let's just get divorced. He says, if you want a divorce, I'll give you a divorce. She looks at me, she says, you see? What did she mean he never does anything?
He doesn't care.
If I don't ask, he'll never do it.
Right.
So so ask.
Right.
Then he's not the mashpia, she's the mashpia.
Right.
She says, let's get divorced. He says, okay.
Right.
Who's the mashpia?
Yeah, they're switching roles. That's what.
And she hates herself for being the mashpia.
Of course, because she's not in a role.
That's right.
And mashpia is also not in his zone if he is the makabel. And sometimes you see this, that the women are the breadwinners in the house.
Yeah.
Doesn't help too much for them.
So what happens very often, he stops being the mashpia because it's easier.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm the man. So he becomes the tough guy by refusing. No, you can't make me do that. Now they're just so miserable that it's... So if we want to put it in primitive language, the man says, I want you to take care of the children and raise them. It's a full-time job, and it takes menuchas hanefesh.
Correct.
If you're not present, if you're distracted, if you're worried, if you're anxious, you're not going to be a good mother.
Right.
But I want my children to have the best mother. So here's the deal. I take full responsibility for everything. You don't have to worry about a thing. Just take care of the kids.
Do your job.
That's why the man is the provider, the protector, the whatever. Because if she has to worry about paying bills, she can't be a mother.
Right. So that's where the mashpia comes in. He has to know that it's his responsibility, that he should have peace of mind. And most of the time, if the mashpia does his job, then things fall into place. Even if things that, things that he wants to see. But if you let her be, and if you let her blossom, then things will fall into place.
But it is so, today, it wasn't always that way. It is so common now. Men are too passive, thinking that that's being respectful to the wife, being a gentleman. Like, oh, well, what do you think? Well, what do you want to do? Oh, you're in charge of the checkbook now? Fine.
What you're saying is that the mashpia should take charge.
Should take responsibility.
Responsibility.
So he discovers that she is much better at handling money than him.
Right.
It's his responsibility to give her the job, but not the responsibility.
Right.
So now she's taking care of the checkbook because she's good at it.
Which is fine.
But anytime she wants to stop, she has the right to stop because it's not her responsibility. She's pinch hitting.
Right. Talking about the checkbook, financials. Financials in a house is a very big issue. Should the husband share all his financial dealings with the wife, since they're one, and you just want to share everything? Should you not share? Because a lot of times, I know personally that I spoke to some people and stuff like that, and they shared a little bit too much. And let's say the husband has problems in the business, and he comes home before Shabbos, and he says, I don't have money for the supermarket. The bank called me for the house. They're taking away the car. I don't have it. They'll send home the kids for tuition. And she starts panicking. Now, he ruined the Shabbos. He just brought the whole thing down completely. So there's a concept of a person says, listen, you walk in the door, you come in with a smile. It's all good. The bunch of them is going to help. In the meantime, his kishkes are turning over because he's having a hard time on the outside. Should he share or should he not share?
He should tell the facts and share his optimism.
But hiding is like not talking about it is not an option.
Why? Why should he hide it? If you think about it, for most of our history, the man came home without money.
It's nothing new.
Nothing. It was always like nobody ever had enough money.
Correct.
Did the wives lose respect for their husbands? Never.
No, not really. Not if the person is a genuine person and
has some quality
to him, yeah.
Not money, quality.
Quality, correct.
So they suffer together like a good couple. But today it's like, you can't make a living, you schlemazel, you...
Yeah, they belittle, they look at the neighbors, and if the neighbor has a nicer car or a nicer house, then...
So they lose respect.
They lose respect.
So if the wife is not looking quite as good as she did 10 years ago, it's all over.
Materialistic.
Because they married the wrong thing.
Or they married only for the thing.
Yes.
Now,
a man says to me, I love everything about my wife. It's a big claim.
Yeah.
But let's say, okay, I love everything about my wife. I said, that's very interesting because your wife wants a divorce. Like, something's wrong here. Do you love her? He said, I told you I love everything about her. No, not about her. Do you love her? He says, what does that mean? He doesn't know what that means.
Right.
You take away all the things, you're left with nothing.
You're left with nothing.
In other words, there is no person behind these things.
Right. It's just that they have it all mixed up.
Yeah.
So the question I'm going to ask you is, for men and women, what's the man and the woman's obligation later in marriage not to let themselves go, not to get comfortable with each other? Because one of your things, I think you wrote, is that couples are always strangers. You always stay strangers. It's not like children that you can't, with a child is your child. You always have to work on this. There's constant work. So as far as letting themselves go physically, and what advice do you have for the man and for the woman of how to keep the marriage going years down the road?
We have a childish or teenage conception. If you really love me, then what's the difference how I look?
Correct. Like, take it the way I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comfort zone.
If you really love me, why do I have to dress up?
Exactly.
Why do I have to be polite? Why do I have to be considerate? Right. You're going to love me no matter what, right?
That's one way, or you have nowhere to go. You're stuck with me.
Right.
You have kids, you have this, there's a million reasons. But what should a person know?
That's why the yeshivas can do whatever they want. You don't like it? Where are you going
to go?
And the kosher product. What are you going to eat?
Yeah.
We got you. So it's obviously not true that no matter how you behave, your husband is going to love you. What kind of silly concept is that? It's very... If you're not a mensch with your own spouse, the result is much, much worse than if you're not a mensch with a stranger.
Correct.
the ugliness when it goes bad between a husband and wife. It's such a common thing. He is such a nice guy. He goes to shul, everybody loves him. He's the life of the party.
Yeah.
He's the nicest guy. He'll do anyone a favor. He's to his wife, he is mamish a Rasha Merusha. How does this happen? Because if you have to live with somebody who is not being a mensch, it creates such disgust. It creates such contempt. It's almost dangerous.
Right.
So if you want to not be a mensch, do it in public. But
don't bring it home.
House.
Right.
Not in the, the famous father says to his daughter, you can't go out dressed like that. You can't go out dressed like that? Turn it around. You want to dress like that, you can go into the streets. In the house, you dress like a mensch.
Right.
Why has the house become less important? And here's another thing, and it's shocking that frumme Yidden have no idea. Between husband and wife, you still have to be tznius?
That's
More than with a stranger. You don't dress tznius with a stranger. He'll think you're...
yeah.
No, so who cares? But if your husband loses respect for you, if you lose respect for him, the tzaddis are indescribable.
Right. I was going to ask you from before when we were talking about the Chusen lessons about Taharas HaMishpacha. Can you explain how important, what a vital role this plays in a marriage, and why is it the practical part and the halacha part?
So the first thing is the negative connotation that when a woman needs to go to the mikveh, she is tummy. Oh, she's tummy.
Right.
That's so not Jewish.
Right. But what's the words they use when they teach this? Is it not tohar? Is it
Well, whatever.
they use the word tome?
There's something wrong with her. Stay away from her.
Right. Right.
And if you get near, you touch, you'll become contaminated or whatever.
Right.
It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman is a nida, she is not being mekabel, she's giving out, not taking in. When she is not taking in, how dare you try to be mashpia?
So that's the concept to why to stay away from.
Out of respect for her, not because she's tummy.
Right.
She can't be mekabel. Why are you force feeding her?
Right.
We made a film about this whole subject.
Mm-hmm.
And the filmmaker interviewed a lot of people, interviewed a Chinese doctor from Chinese medicine expert. He said that in Chinese medicine, husband and wife are not intimate when she is having a period because you can't, yin and yang at the same time.
Ah, yes.
So it's a physical reality that you can't be pilot
Right.
and mekabel at the same time. So you should have respect for a woman. She's going through a change.
Right.
It's not look down at her. So if the man can't respect that, it's not that he's not frum.
It's just nicht kein Mensch.
Nicht kein Mensch. What are you doing?
Right. But what about as far as, archukas and touching and...
It makes so much sense.
just let her be.
Yeah. You say, I'm letting her be. I'm just going to You're not just gonna, you don't understand human nature. What are you making it hard on
It's
yourself?
just simple dercheres.
Yeah, but if you don't keep the harchokes, you're teasing yourself. You know you're going to fail. Don't make it hard on you. The harchokes make it so much easier.
And there's also a concept of coming together like newlyweds, separating for a while and then refreshing this.
Look, the worst thing that can happen is if a woman loses respect for her husband, and if the husband takes his wife for granted. They're different people. This is a mashpia, this is a makabel. Their problems are different problems. A woman can take insults. A man cannot. A man can live without appreciation. A woman cannot.
Why can't a man take insults? I can't, but some people can.
They close up. They're emasculated very easily. I mean, it's very like a guy's a comedian and he gets up to perform and nobody laughs. He's dead.
Terrible.
He'll never tell another joke.
Right.
He won't risk it again.
Right.
He's emasculated.
Right.
He has been crippled as a mashpia.
Right.
He'll become a makabel. Because that's the nature of a mashpia. It all depends on how what you're giving is received. If it's not received, so the worst thing that a wife can say to her husband is not, "You're stupid," which is pretty bad. The worst thing she can say is, "Never mind, I'll do it myself."
Yeah.
Ich darf dir nicht.
Yeah.
That's it. If the makabel darf nicht the mashpia, he's no longer mashpia. He's finished.
It's no longer relevant.
Yeah. But a woman doesn't need compliments. She's not a mashpia. But if she doesn't get appreciation, she's horrified. Not destroyed. Upset.
Yeah.
Yesher.
And she loses the respect.
But her upset is not, "You hurt me."
Right.
No. You're not right.
Mm-hmm.
I do this for you and you don't say thank you. Yesher.
Yeah.
So a woman is hurt more by the lack of yesher. A man is hurt personally.
Right.
Oh, ich kenn nicht.
Right.
Okay, ich kenn nicht.
And the reason is because he's a mashpia.
Yeah.
And he gets shut off. He gets taken away from his position. We hear the word tolerant a lot. You got to be tolerant. You got to be resilient, and this and that. Tolerant in a marriage. I mean, you can hear people say, "I'm tolerating. Tolerating because I have kids. I'm tolerating because of finances. I'm tolerating this, tolerating that." How destructive is tolerant in a marriage?
It's the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
Same as compromise.
Compromise, is that harsh? It's the same, you would put it on the same level?
Yeah, it's poison. You have to compromise. Marriage is a compromise. You cannot live a compromise. You can compromise for a half hour, not for the rest of your life.
Right.
So if you think marriage is a compromise, then don't get married.
You want to live your life to the fullest, is what you're saying.
Some people even say marriage is a sacrifice. You got to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice. What are you sacrificing? You wanted to go on a vacation. Your wife said no. So you say, if you're not ready to go, we won't go. So she is now happy. And you feel like you sacrificed. You didn't sacrifice. You made your wife happy, and that's what you're there for.
It's not a sacrifice.
What's the sacrifice?
So how does a person know when he is a rug or when he's standing up for himself, in a healthy way.
If they're living his life, then the details are not so important. You said, I say, she said, we're going in my direction. I'm the captain.
Then you know you're on the right track.
Why is it so painful when a wife says to the husband, slow down in driving? Slow down. Not good advice?
But he doesn't like it.
It's devastating.
Why is that?
You don't like how I lead. If you don't like how I lead,
You're criticizing my job, my position.
you're not trusting my.
Right.
If you don't trust me, like, are you in my life? You're not in my life. The worst thing that a chassan can do, and this happens all the time. You come home from the chasana, and he says to his kala, what should we do now? That's it.
He gave over the reins.
She hates him. She ekelt her.
Yeah.
What did you just do? What should we do now? What did I marry here?
Right.
That's it. She'll never forgive him.
He killed it from the beginning. So what you're saying is that a chusn and a husband should know his position. Know your role.
You brought her into your life.
And your job.
And you don't know what life is?
Right.
What'd you do to me?
And this is with decisions in life in general. The wife is expecting that you should lead.
Yes.
Right. Now, expectations, this is another thing. High expectations will get you nowhere, or will get you deep in the ground. What can a man expect from the wife, and what is allowed for the wife to expect from her husband?
You can expect everything. You can't demand.
But if you have expectations, who knows where these expectations come from?
The danger is if you have an expectation and it's not happening, you're going to start demanding. Now it's going south.
Now it's going in the bad direction.
Yeah.
But the expectation should be, because you're one and there is love and there's a mashpia and a makabel, you can have an expectation and you can express it as well.
It's like being optimistic.
We're having a civilized conversation.
I expect that by next week we're going to have a better life. We're going to have more money. We're going to have a bigger house. Why not?
Now, when you hear a couple that there was cheating going on or infidelity, whatever, how do you view this? Do you are blaming both because obviously someone lost each other in the middle over there? Or are you is it just lust, a sex addiction maybe? Or Maim Genivim Yimtuki, they have a decent marriage, but, men especially and women also. What is your reaction when you hear?
So let's take an opportunity here to say something important. Looking on the internet, pornography.
Correct.
It's a magefa.
Yeah.
What's so terrible?
Because I want to cut in for you in a second, because I remember years ago, and this is I wanted to talk about it. Years ago, I don't know how many years, but you gave a lecture on this internet. I was mesmerized. I was sitting there and watching this thing. It was, the time that they were fighting the internet very much. And you were saying, these are the words, I'm giving you just a word. And you were saying, this garbage or this porn, whatever is going on the internet, is not going to scare us. Because this was going on for years. It goes back all the way to Mitzrayim. So I'm not getting so nervous. It used to be on the newsstands. Now it's on the internet. Your opinion, I think, was that the education and the awareness is important. You were saying like some sort of, bring it on. We can handle it. That was your idea, and I was going to ask you again. Now I'm going to let you continue about the internet, what you want to say about the internet.
What is the harm? What's the harm? That's what every man says. So I took a look, no? What? So what's...
Right.
And if the wife finds out, she can't handle it. And he says, so Artis did. So I took a look. So what?
Yeah.
So they have to make it into an addiction. Oh, it's an addiction. Oh, now... Here's a real problem, and men have to know this.
Mm-hmm.
Watching pornography makes you the makabel.
Correct.
You're being passive, and you're letting the computer or the pornography
stimulate you, whatever.
Right. You're going to become impotent. It's a fact. You don't become more sexual, you become incapable. So when women get upset that the man is watching pornography, it's because I'm losing you.
Right, I'm losing you as a mashpia.
Yes. In front of my eyes, you're turning into a makabel.
And that brings down the marriage. Clearly.
It brings down the man.
Yeah.
So it's not the Aveda, the Tumma, an Aveda, when, we're kind of used to sins.
This is by Nudam Lamukam is what you say.
We're used to Avedas. We're not, this Aveda. Okay, it's an Aveda, But this is killing you. Your mama's becoming a woman.
Yeah. And the worst part of it is that I heard also from people that I spoke to, plenty of them, is that he is going and watching whatever he's supposed to watch, and then whatever he wants to watch, and then he comes home and he expects, participation in the house.
He expects her to become the mashpia.
Yeah, but he is, and she's like, where do you take this from?
Yeah.
And this is another one that is, how do you deal with that? How does a wife deal with that?
So a man, if he wants to be happily married, should not admit to his wife all his weaknesses.
Right. There's a whole big concept of if you should spill the beans, everything that you went through in your life, even as a bucher and stuff like that. Why is it important to share everything?
You have to be considerate. Honesty is not always the best thing. If it hurts the other person, it would say you're at tzaddik on somebody else's expense.
Right.
You're going to tell the truth. And if it hurts, too bad. This is nicht Mensch.
Right.
During the 2 weeks that you're not allowed, don't keep telling your wife, it's so hard for me. It was machzig for a nebuch. It is hard. You don't have to complain to her about it. Be the leader. It's hard for her too.
What you're saying is you're giving yourself away in a very cheap way.
You're mevaze yourself.
Right.
And then she's supposed to respect you.
Right. Now, after a cheating situation, is there place for forgiveness?
Absolutely.
A woman can completely 250% forget what happened, let's say if it was a relationship, and say to herself, listen, he had a bad moment. I'm willing to not ever go back there and think about this again and start from fresh.
Yeah.
Toiredik, and it's doable. It's doable.
Men have a much harder time.
Forgiving.
But I think that in principle, Aveda is a terrible thing. But respecting Aveda is even worse. You have too much derech eretz for Aveda.
Yeah.
Oy, this Aveda, the world is over. It's just an Aveda. Don't worship Avedas. Because if we did, we're all finished.
Right.
It's all
That's
over.
what it is. We fall, we get up, we fall. The Rebbeinu created Shiva before he created the world.
Yeah.
So if you chap yourself, when is okay a divorce?
It's never okay. Never.
There is no way under the sun that a person would say that divorce is the right thing to do right now.
No, the language is a little... There are circumstances in which divorce has to happen.
What kind of circumstances? Severe cases?
When it has to happen, there's no brede.
Right.
So it's not a good thing.
Right.
It's
It's
not
the
an
last
option.
resort. Yeah.
When it's not necessary, then it is absolutely... When it's necessary, it's never an option. Oder metarnisht, oder memuz.
What must happen that a divorce should happen?
If it's destroying you.
If it's destroying you as a person.
If it's pikuach nefesh.
Right.
And then you don't ask. There was a woman in Minnesota. The marriage was a gelechter, you know?
Yeah.
Every month, every 2 months, she would come and say, I can't. Is it all right if I divorce him? Should I divorce him? I said, no. Month after month. Yeah. She says, why do you keep saying no? I said, because you keep asking. When you'll come and tell me that you've had it,
It's done.
it's done. But you're asking? No.
Right.
I think a funny story with her.
Yeah.
One time she came and she said, it was the middle of the winter, it's Minnesota. She says, my husband woke up. He took the car. He left. I don't know where he went. He didn't tell me. The car has bald tires. It's not good for driving on the snow. He's on the highway someplace. I don't know what's going to be. And she's angry at him. I said, what are you angry? Maybe he'll get into a car accident and he'll die. She says, Chas v'shalom. I said, you're not divorcing him.
You're not ready yet.
No way.
Right. Now, we have everyone, I think, couples and have arguments and disagreements and stuff like that. And it's okay, I guess, it's part of communication. But when does a person know when it steps over the line and it becomes abuse? You know, people would say this is abuse. It says, I just said something. How do you have a balance of just an argument? I have a difference of opinion. And when can she say, or he, it's abuse?
The word abuse is a little abused.
It's been thrown around a lot.
If a man comes home from work at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
and walks past his wife and goes to do something, it's abuse. It's abuse. Ignoring, neglecting, that's abuse. Has the mamish become dangerous to life and limb?
Right,
That's abuse.
right.
My father, however, Shalom, he never called my mother. You heard this?
Yeah, by your name, right?
We never knew her name because he never
Right.
used her name.
Right.
Because when he wanted to talk to her, he went to where she was.
Tremendous respect. Yeah.
So he never had to call her.
Right.
And now when I'm in a house and I hear the husband calling the wife,
Wow.
how do you talk to your wife like that?
Right.
The tone of voice.
Yeah.
Where are you? This is how you talk to.
Right. And what happens?
That's abuse.
Yeah. And what happens when you see it on the other way around? You see the wife
Same
yelling on the other.
Same thing.
That means she lost respect.
Completely.
Lost respect.
V'haraya, watch what happens when the phone rings.
Yeah.
She answers the phone.
So nicely.
Yeah. A completely different person. Like a dibuk.
Right. What if a couple, with the time, they grew apart in religion, different values? Later, is there a reason for a divorce?
No.
Never. How should she or he go about it if they have a difference in belief?
If she used to respect him because he was a Yerushalayim and an Edele, and now he's not,
Right.
she has to find something else to respect.
Just accept the fact that he's not on her level and continue with the family.
But she can't be without respect. So she'll have to find something else to respect in him. He's honest.
Right.
He's helpful. He knows what he wants. Oh, he wants the wrong thing, but
Right.
he knows what he wants.
You can find an Akida Toiva in everybody. And that should be her job.
But it should be not just something good, something he is better at than her.
Mm-hmm. That you should really respect.
Because if it's not better than her, she's not respecting him, she's approving of him. And that's the exact opposite of respect.
Right.
Person, my husband's a mensch. He's a real mensch.
Right.
And what are you? A bigger mensch. No, that's not respect.
Right. What's the biggest struggles that young people face today? There's so much.
You have a few hours? So this is the challenge of today. Can you recognize that it's not about you?
Gewaldig.
Otherwise, you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
It says other.
Yeah. Because you're completely enmeshed in yourself. All you see is yourself. And this is just the opposite. And that's why, in narcissism, there's no relationship that works out. It's impossible. These people leave cemeteries behind them. This is with the parents and with the children and with any relationship in business. What message do you have for a person who lives in fear?
Lives in fear.
He's afraid that the marriage is not going to work out. He's afraid that the children, he feels that the world is lined up against him, but he wants to move forward. What do you have to say to this person?
If it's a serious condition, you need therapy. You need rape.
But what you're saying is that he should be. Is it a minute thing? Is it to say, I believe in the Ribbon Shalom, and the Ribbon Shalom loves me, and I love the Ribbon Shalom, and at least I'm trying to do the right thing. Why would the Ribbon Shalom disappoint me? We have an awesome relationship.
I would just leave out the word love. Who says the Eibishter loves you?
Because if I walk on the street and I see love, and I see the love of the Ribbon Shalom in everything. I see love in if I breathe and if I see through my eyes.
Again, we're using the word very broadly. The Eibishter is responsible. He takes care. He's the balabas. He loves you. How do you know? Because he lets you live.
Because I count my blessings.
Yes.
Could have been worse.
Avada. But what is the Eibishter doing? He's maintaining you because he needs you. Hat von der Asach nachas.
Schwach.
Love needs to be earned. There's no automatic love. But there is devotion, commitment. The Eibishter is very reliable, Rabba emunasecha. So you don't say, wake up in the morning, Meidani lefanecha, because I know you love me. I don't know you love me. And maybe by the end of the day, you won't love me. But you promised me you'll give me back the neshama, you give me back my neshama. So there are things more important than love. And it turns out, Poshet, psychologically, human beings need to be needed more than they need to be loved.
Yeah. I had a friend who was in jail. He was incarcerated for a couple of years, and I was asking him, what's the hardest part of being in jail? You know, he didn't talk about the humiliation. He was saying that I'm not needed. Bills are being paid. My wife has food and everything. Not being a mashpia. That's what the hardest part. That's what he said.
I had a story where this little boy tried to kill himself with his friend. So they're holding him in the hospital for observation. But that hospital is like a prison.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place. They're deciding whether he should go to the electric chair or to therapy. This is like a dangerous.
Yeah.
So it's a prison. Nobody can go up there. Double locked doors with bars on the windows, and the nurses carry tasers and handcuffs. And so the mother of this boy asked me to go visit him. She's not allowed. And it's for 48 hours. So I go up there, and I try to talk to this boy, and he's not interested. Doesn't even look up at me. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to start a conversation. Sie geht nicht. Finally, he says, why don't you go home? The chaplain has already been here. The hospital chaplain visits everybody. I said, what did the chaplain say? He says, something stupid. I said, what did he say that was stupid? I'm really curious. He said I shouldn't kill myself because God loves me. I said, that's stupid? He says, yeah. I said, I agree. I can't imagine God loves you. You're an obnoxious brat. He looks up. He says, yeah. The kid was fearless.
Yeah, but now he wanted to listen. But now that made him...
Yeah, like, well, yeah, so, yeah, well. I said, look, he created you. Obviously, he needs you. There's something that you can do for him that nobody else can do. So, unfortunately, he's stuck with you. I don't know if he likes you. He says, what if I don't want to do what he created me for? I said, that's called bechira. That's called freedom of choice. You have a choice. So take a position. You want, you don't want, say yes, no, say something. Anyway, I got home and I realized I was making a joke about the whole thing. Mm. He is so right. What the chaplain said is poshet stupid. Worse, the kid tries to kill himself. He's making a very loud statement to the world. I'm not necessary. Who says I have to live? Right. I lived already 14 years.
It's enough.
Yeah, let's try something else. Because I'm not necessary. The chaplain comes and says, don't kill yourself. God loves you. He's literally saying, you're right.
Nobody loves you.
You're not necessary, but don't kill yourself because God loves you. And he's thinking, I'm a pet? Who do you love that you don't need?
Right.
A goldfish?
Right.
Like, a human being can't be a pet.
So he was pushed missing the awareness that he was born into this world because he has a mission.
Yes.
He has a shlichus.
Yes.
He has to do something.
So the chaplain comes along and says, okay, fine. But he loves you. See, that's so stupid.
No, it didn't resonate with him.
Human beings need to be needed more than we need to be loved.
Yeah.
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, with the Man's Search for Meaning book.
Yeah. So he said, in the concentration camp, if you felt needed, you survived.
Correct.
Everybody loves you. Too bad. It's not going to help you survive.
Not over there. But if you felt needed, you felt like you have a mission and you have to accomplish something, that clearly that does it. I want to ask you a few personal questions for the people who want to know about. They hear so much of your wisdom, of your Torah, and of your philosophies, but they want to hear a little bit of your personal life. What was your biggest struggles that you remember that you overcame?
I don't think I ever struggled to overcome. I'm too lazy. I was by nature very, very shy, very self-conscious and timid, and I couldn't speak in front of my own family.
Wow.
But in the yeshiva, they told us everyone has to go to a shul and give over a sikh of the Rebbe.
And it just built your
I
self-esteem.
said, not me.
Wow.
They said, no exceptions. I had no choice. Geschwitzt, I was nervous. I was übergechazert the sikh until I knew it and I went.
Wow.
And it was good. I didn't struggle, at least not for more than one day.
Yeah. But imagine what this brought out after so many years.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable stuff.
I think the Rebbe's project, this was the Rebbe's project.
Yeah.
So smart.
Genius. Genius. That's why I always say this. He created leaders. He was so secure with himself, and he just let everybody go on their own. It's to marvel at.
There was another thing that helped a lot. I really admired those who speak. And, yeah.
It was like a kindersuffering type of.
And I went to one guy who was giving a lecture. He was standing by a
Beamer or something?
No, by a stende.
Yeah.
And they asked, then it came to the time for the questions. Somebody was asking him a question and he fell asleep. Stehendig. He fell asleep. I said, wait a minute. If it's that easy,
then I got to be able to do it. Yeah. What is your biggest joy?
The biggest joy when a person says, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's
being a mashpia.
Yeah.
That's giving of yourself, teaching you, being a Rav and a Talmud, and it really puts you in a position. You just said this the last.
But that energy, that
yeah, that you just alive.
Yeah, you see the person like come alive.
Yeah.
It's like the person was without oxygen turning blue.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm breathing.
Yeah. And what is your definition of a ehrlich Yid?
Ehrlich means bluff nicht.
Amos, be honest. Final question. Who is your role model?
Oh, I had Baruch Hashem. It's such a blessing. I had a Rosh Yeshiva in Montreal.
Wow.
I can't thank him enough.
Psh.
I had Rabbi Khan, 770. I had an older Bacher who Pashat started me off.
Psh.
I had a lot of really quality people.
Wow. Now you give them credit for what you for your accomplishments today, for the way you spread the word.
Yeah.
Wow. So and they made such an impact. This Rabbi Cohen
and of course the Rebbe.
Yeah. A tremendous impact. Wow. I got to tell you, Rabbi Mains Friedman, you're a gift to the world.
Oh.
Your wisdom and your chachma, and I want to thank you for that you're sharing this. You could have held all this stuff by yourself. What good would it do? So what you do is...
By yourself is a disease.
It's a disease, yeah.
It's narcissism.
Right.
It's like, again, going back to... Today we have to convince young children nothing that you have is for you.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
It's yours, but it's not for you. If you have information and knowledge, what's nice, it's for you.
Right.
You're capable of loving. So you're going to love yourself?
Right, exactly.
That's sick.
Of course, you give it to others. Absolutely. You are a true mashpia. You're a shliach, and you are a noisen. And the Rebbeinu Shalom should help you that you should be able to share for many, many years, to share and have arichas yomim v'shunim and continue inspiring the world.
Amen. And we should have good news, emissary good news, in Eretz Yisrael, in the world in general.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.